Welcome to Tech Tuesday. Today we will be taking a look at some of the elements of a flipped classroom and looking at Office 365 sites as a place you can use to engage your students in those activities. So just as a reminder, on the document page that you signed into, that you have access to a document to live chat with us, and also you can use the hashtag DPChats on Twitter or Yammer, and we'll be happy to answer any of the questions that you have today. So we'll just let you get settled and we'll get started. So as we begin to explore the elements of a flipped classroom, we look at the pedagogy behind the reversal of your typical content delivery, perhaps through a lecture, and the elements of your homework program that you have, and taking a look at how we can reverse some of those pieces. So one example would be to use short videos to deliver your lecture or your content or lesson that would be viewed by students either at home or before class time or at the start of class time. And then using your class time then to devote to the hands-on experiences and the application of that content. We also take a look at how we can link this into our Catholic graduate expectations. So taking a look at developing those self-directed, responsible lifelong learners and responsible citizens. So we can connect that into helping create students who demonstrate flexibility and adaptability, and also looking at that accountability piece for one's own actions and respecting our resources that we use. So I just want to quickly share a short video with you on the concept of a flipped classroom.
The flipped class requires us to fundamentally rethink two important aspects of education: space and time.
So let's talk a little bit about space. If you think about the way classrooms have been set up traditionally, they had a chalkboard in the front of the classroom. Then those chalkboards became whiteboards, and then those whiteboards became overhead projectors, which then turned into LCD projectors that we hung on the ceiling. But really the classroom in all of those situations is a presentation station. It's not a center of learning. When we rethink the space of the classroom, we're reorienting how the classroom is used, where the front of the classroom is or where the front of the classroom isn't.
All you have to really do is rethink where you're going to put tables and chairs. But then that begs a very interesting question. Now, what do you do with the extra time you're going to have in a flipped classroom with the kids?
The short answer is we don't know what the best use of your face-to-face class time is, but what we want to encourage you to do is to think about ways you can get your students engaged in some of the higher order thinking, the higher tiers of Bloom's taxonomy, the analysis and application and evaluation and creation components, all within the context of the content that they've already learned before they come to class in better ways with an expert in the room, a content area expert and a learning expert, and that expert is you.
This probably sounds familiar. Project-based learning, PBL, universal design for learning, inquiry learning. These learning pedagogies fit greatly in a flipped learning environment.
In short, a flipped classroom is a way for teachers to transition into the role of facilitator, becoming that guide on the side. We really see the flipped classroom as a transitional tool for educators to move away from being the center of attention in the classroom and move that attention onto students and onto the learning that's happening in those classrooms.
And again, I encourage you to explore a little on YouTube some of the examples of flipped classrooms. There's lots of examples out there. So today we're going to be taking a look at if you do decide to create some videos or some experiences for your students in that flipped environment. We're going to take a look at how we can use Office 365, the sites, to create a class website that you can use as a landing page to store your videos and send students to.
So
let's explore the options of creating a site within Office 365. So essentially this would act like a class website where you could post your flipped videos and different instructions for students, and to also have students post back to you. So I'm going to show you how to set that up. If we come into Sites, you're going to notice that I have created a few sites. So what I'll do is I'm going to kind of walk you through what that could look like and then show you how to set one up. So I'm just going to come into one I've created at first. And you can kind of see that it's acting like a landing page here. And you'll have options to kind of customize this as I did with choosing a background, a wallpaper, some images, titles, things like that. So I'm just going to show you a few of the elements. So you can add in here a news feed onto your site where kind of conversations and posts could happen. So you can leave posts and students can leave posts for you. You also get an area where you can upload documents. So if you're particularly posting a video for tonight's session with the students we're going to click on when they get home, or perhaps at the beginning of class, they'll have easy access to find where you've posted that. You can leave kind of event notes for your students with instructions so they know that they have particular dates and calendars attached to things. You can post links and add notebooks and all kinds of things up here for your students. You can actually add links to the web as well. So if you have a particular, perhaps a YouTube video with instructions you found that you're leaving with your students, you could put that there as well. So what I'd like to do is show you how you create one of these sites from scratch. So I'm going to come back out to Sites for a moment. Now when you first get here, your instinct's going to want to be to come here to create your site. But actually what we are creating is what we call a sub-site. So to do that, we're going to come up to the right-hand side where the little wheel is. And we're going to come down to where it says Site Contents. And you'll notice at the very bottom, you have the option to add some pieces. So right here, we're going to say add a new sub-site. And this is where you're going to title your site. So you might call it whatever you like here. And here you can kind of customize that. And the rest of these settings, you can play around with them and experiment, but I kind of leave everything the way it is set up by default to create that sub-site for my classroom. So it'll just take a moment to generate that. Okay, and you'll notice you kind of by default get this template, again with a news feed and the document space and the links you can add up here. But initially we'll have some options here for you to kind of create this site to begin with. So if you're looking for kind of that idea of changing the style of your site, backdrop or the wallpaper, you can pick a theme, whichever one maybe speaks to you. And you'll notice once you do that, you also have options to kind of change that theme. And you can kind of choose just something that is a preference to you here. So as that kind of generates, bringing the students into the site, so we'll actually have to share this to the students. So if you've created a group with your students, and if you're unsure how to do that, you're going to go to the People option up here. And again, if you look back at one of our past collaboration videos on our YouTube channel, we can walk you through how to set up that group. So after it kind of generates this preview, you can decide if you like that or not. And you'll notice at the top, you can choose to either keep that or go back and edit. And here is where you're going to share your site. So if you've created that group, you'll just type it here. Here you'll notice that you can add in kind of those tasks and timelines. So if I'd like to add a calendar or a task to here to help assign students, keep them organized, I can go ahead and do that as well. So anyway, you can work your way through here to kind of customize your sites for things that you kind of like. And once you're happy, you can click this button that says Remove Me. And you'll be left with your site here. Just to note, if you're familiar with OneNote, Classroom OneNote, there is a notebook here that you can build. You can also come back in to edit the site contents here as well. And you'll notice that there's a Class OneNote creator. So if you want to create a notebook for your class that you can bring your students into, and you're familiar with how to do that, that's a good option for creating a landing spot for student work and instructions. And again, you can upload your files and things here. So I'm just going to go back to that site that I had showed you, that I created, and go through some of those elements of what that looks like, perhaps with a flipped classroom. So one of the things I did is I came up to site contents here. And you'll notice there's an option to add an app. So when you click that, you'll notice that there's kind of a bank of apps in here. And some of them are built into the program, and some of them are kind of added on costs that are kind of locked down. You won't have access to those. But the one thing that's kind of popular to use is what we call a document library. So when we click that, I can name this library kind of anything I want there and say create. And what you'll notice is that that folder is right here. And if I click on that now, I create a section for files to be posted and uploaded. So it's acting like a folder, perhaps for you to collect responses from your students. And you'll notice here that my folder is under recent, and you have the option in site contents to kind of edit and move that around. So now I can create subfolders, which are called libraries. So if perhaps I've given my students a task and I'm wanting them to respond to me, they could come up here and click into the folder, whichever folder I've named, and go ahead and click on that and post in there and upload. And they can do that either by clicking upload and choosing a file, but they can also just create new and start a new Word document, or copy and paste into this new Word document. I'm just going to come back here to show you in folder 1. You also have the option of creating individual folders with your students. Once you're inside your particular folder, again, you can hit new and new folder, and you can create these folders. And again, to kind of create that library, again, you're just coming up to site contents and adding an app here. You'll also notice that once you're in site contents, you get another settings option here. And by going in here, what I can do is come into where the quick launch bar is. And it has kind of all my subfolders and different areas that I've created. And what we can do is click kind of that change order. So that's what I did for my folders. You'll notice is that I created that. They kind of by default go into the recent folder area. And I made that the first option. You can change those order how you want. And that's what's going to appear across the top here. So I wanted those subfolders to kind of be in the first top left-hand corner. So it'd be easy to direct my students to where I wanted them to drop those. And again, I'll just come back to the home page here. So again, I can leave instructions for my students kind of in this news feed. I can post maybe the current options for today. So you'll notice here that I have a kind of video that I've uploaded. Oh, sorry, not a video. This was a document where I wanted them to come in and collaborate after they've watched a video that I've posted there. And again, we've taught the students how to come in and use that Word document for collaboration so that they can kind of feed off each other's ideas. If you're not sure how to kind of set up one of those Word documents, you can go to our collaboration video on YouTube and learn how to do that. But just showing that I've put that link there. Underneath there is the video I've asked the students to watch. So they can click on that and you'll notice that it will generate that video. And again, I've just uploaded this video. This is a video I found on YouTube.
Hi, boys and girls. Today we're moving on to a new topic called elapsed time.
So I've just uploaded that video so the students can go ahead and watch that instructional piece, and they can rewatch it and pause it as often as they like. And what I've done then is ask them to go into that collaborative document that I've left there. I also could put that into perhaps one of the folders in here. So I could upload the video in here. I could upload that in there instead of the front homepage. But that's kind of how you'll decide to use that with your class. You can see sometimes I've also put things in the news feed, a little prompt for them, and just added a little instruction. In this particular case, they were asked to come into their Class 1 notes, and I've attached my Class 1 note up here, and they would just click on that and be able to go into there. So if you're familiar with Class 1 note, that's a great option as well. So essentially your site is acting like a landing page for all of those kind of flipped experiences you might give your students. And you can go ahead and kind of use that calendar feature as well to kind of add some tasks in there and create that. So just another option for when you're considering perhaps organizing your students into a space.
So again, one of the other options, if you're familiar with D2L, you could also use that as a landing spot for your flipped videos and experiences for your students. So just as you're considering some of the options when you're flipping your room, we take a look at access. So really knowing and understanding your students, whether they have access at home to be able to view the videos. Some options, if you have a few students who don't have access, you could provide those videos onto flash drives for them. You could also set up times at the beginning or start of your class for them to come in and view those videos. We also really want to work with the students on how to watch a video. So watching a leisure video is different than watching an educational video. So we want to teach the students how to interact with that content, which will cause them to think and reflect. Also, you can put some safeguards in place to ensure your students are viewing those videos. You could perhaps attach an Excel survey or Google form to pose questions to the students. And I would know right away, taking a look at those results, whether the students had gone in and viewed that video. You can also build right into your video the idea of a task and have the students bring that in as an entrance ticket into class. And just keeping in mind the attention span of your students, rule of thumb is around a minute per grade. So if I'm teaching grade 6, I want to keep my videos to about a maximum of 6 minutes. And don't wait for your videos to be perfect. As you become more proficient with creating these, you'll get more creative and comfortable with them. And start small. The flipped class is definitely scalable. So you can start by just flipping a particular lesson or a unit. And I always suggest to find a topic that the students particularly struggle with. So perhaps maybe they're struggling with a particular concept in math. I might start with that so that they could actually rewatch that video repeatedly. And the students then start to begin to see the value in that flipped experience. And just to leave you with the idea of looking at the traditional classroom versus the flipped classroom. And in that flipped environment, that instructor is delivering that content outside of the class and allowing the students to watch and engage with that content before coming to class, or perhaps finding some time for those students to view that as they come into class. And allowing that class time now to be devoted to the application of that learning and more higher order thinking tasks. And it also provides us as educators now to be able to provide more guided experience and meet the needs of our students for the differentiation in our class. So just a reminder that on our YouTube channel, which is DPCDSB Chats, we do have previous tutorials on there. So if we've mentioned something in today's video that you're not sure about, it's because you will definitely find the instructions there. So feel free to peruse that and know that we're here every Tuesday to answer your questions. So you can always try a few things out and come back and look for some support. Thanks very much and have a great Tuesday.